my dog cool.
Yeah. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
Happy Halloween.
Cheers.
Cheers. So this is Elon on Joe Rogan's podcast again, probably for the third or fourth time. I can't remember how many times, but this was Halloween. They recorded it for Halloween, and so this was last month, and then so this is November. And this video is just you watching it with me about the cool stuff about Tesla, about the Cybertruck, about cool things about Tesla only, not about his views on anything else, not about Twitter or the government or anything like that. This is just Tesla news. Talking really about the Cybertruck and shooting the Cybertruck. There's video footage of that. So let's watch this together. And I don't know how long this is going to be, but the whole podcast is very long. So if you want to watch it, there is a link down below. Go to Joe Rogan's podcast and see this. You don't have to watch it. You can actually listen to it while you're doing something else. So let's watch this.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for rolling up in the Cybertruck, too.
Yeah.
I got a chance to look at it in the factory, but that was almost, was that like a year and a half ago or so?
Was it?
It was a while ago.
It's cool that Elon showed up in the Cybertruck to the podcast, which is
Yeah, at least a year.
At least a year.
What a flex.
And it's different in real life. Like, you see it in person. Like, you see, images are just, we were talking about it outside, you just can't contextualize them.
Yes.
Like, it looks...
I agree. I got to go to the Cybertruck event. Thank you, Kyle, from Out of Spec Motoring. I was his +1. And it is totally different. I didn't really like it at first. It's growing on me now. It's not fully grown yet. I think it's still... But it does look a lot better in person than it does on video, on pictures. So I think this is going to be a massive truck that you're going to see... You're gonna spot it anywhere. And the people that have seen them, it's easy to spot on the road. The release candidates that are out there.
So odd that you have to see it in the flesh.
It looks like computer graphics in reality.
Yeah, it's the coolest looking fucking production car that's ever been made.
It's bulletproof, literally.
Literally. Yeah.
One of the videos we're going to show is just going all like full Al Capone. Just like if Al Capone showed up and emptied the entire magazine of a Tommy gun into the side of the car, you'd be okay.
The only thing that's not bulletproof is the glass.
The glass is optionally bulletproof.
But it is optional?
If you want it, you can make anything bulletproof if you want. But the glass has to be very thick for it to be bulletproof.
Okay, this is not going to be an option. Sorry to burst your bubble. You are not going to be able to get a bulletproof glassed Cybertruck. You'd have to buy yours and take it to a company and make the glass bulletproof. It would be so thick, and Tesla is not doing this. So don't expect it on the configurator.
How far away are you from full, like, delivering them to people? Has anybody gotten them yet?
We plan to do our first deliveries next month.
Oh, wow.
Which means
Now
December.
it's just testing and fucking around?
So December 30th, they're having an event in Texas, and that's when the first ones are going to be available. And I think those are just going to be, high investors, high up in the company, maybe just all employees. I'm not sure. I don't really think normal people are going to get theirs until January, but they're going to have an event on the 30th. Hopefully I get to go there. I'd love to go there, wear this sweatshirt there. The ones that are out there are release candidates. They're beta testers, and they're making sure the truck is, going to work.
The hard part by far is manufacturing, not designing the car. And there's just not really a movie about that, but there should be. The movies will always be about the sort of inventor who invented the car, and then the job is done.
Right.
Or invented the object. Now the job is done. This is not true. That's the easy part. The hard part is manufacturing by far.
Why is it so much harder than making an individual model?
In order to make it affordable, you have to make it at volume. So you've got to make everything at high rate, consistently. If you tour the production line, you'd have a sense for it.
I would love to tour it.
You've got to have machines, as the case may be, the glass machines, the wheels, the tires, everything required from the motor, the battery cells, all of the constituents of the battery cells, all of the silicon that goes in there with the chips. The manufacturing is somewhere between 100 and 1,000 times harder than making a prototype.
Whoa.
And then if you want to say, like, you want to get from, once you reach volume manufacturing, which is insanely difficult, then you want to make the car affordable. It's harder to, say, reduce the cost of the car by 20% than it is to get to volume production in the first place. I really cannot emphasize enough how hard production is relative to design. I'm not saying the design is trivial, because you have to have taste and you have to know what to make. If you don't have taste and judgment, then your prototype will be bad. But it is trivial, really, to churn out prototypes, and it is extremely difficult to build a factory.
And how much more difficult is it to make this, considering the body's made out of steel?
The difficulty of manufacturing is proportionate to the amount of new technology that you have in a car or in the product. And in this case, there's a lot of new technology. The production line will move as fast as the slowest and least lucky and most foolish part of the entire production line. And you could say, to first approximation, there are 10,000 things that have to go right, at least, for production to work. So if you have 9,999 things that are working and one that isn't, that sets the production rate.
That's like every business, and of course government, because everything works slow. Everything is based off of the slowest person. So, but it's just in a bigger scale because you have a lot more things. Instead of 4 employees and one of them works slow, you have 10,000 things, and everything has to line up together to work properly. Makes things slower, unfortunately. And to go back, it's harder to get things cheaper because it takes scale to get things cheaper. So the first, I think, Cybertrucks are going to be way more expensive than the rest of them. Just like the Model 3s were cheaper in the beginning, and they've come down in price. The Model Ys right now are coming down in price a lot. So with scale, brings the price down. See?
The amazing thing about automobiles was not so much the invention of the automobile, but the invention of the factory.
Yeah.
How much does the Cybertruck weigh?
It depends on configuration, but it's about, I don't know, 7,000 pounds.
Whoa.
There's different versions, but 7,000 pounds.
So put that in concept. I looked up an F-150, and F-150, depending on configuration, because they get regular cabs or long beds or crew cabs, but 4,000 to 5,700 pounds for an F-150. This is in the scale. This is in the class of a 250 or 350. So a 250 goes up to 7,600 pounds. So this tows is just as much as a 250 or 350, really. So again, depending on class, it's a big vehicle. 7,000 pounds is a lot, but the Model X is 6,000 pounds.
It's like similar to, like, it's a heavy truck.
Like a Ford F-250 or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah.
And because of all of the metal and the weight and everything like that, but with the engines that you have, it's
Motors. They're not engines.
still, the 0 to 60 is pretty bizarre, right? It's like 3.5 or something like that?
We're aiming to get the 0 to 60 below 3 seconds.
Below 3.
So that makes sense because the Plaid Model X is 2.5 seconds 0 to 60. So this being 1,000 pounds heavier, 2.9 or 3% or 3 seconds is pretty much in line. That's with the 1 foot rollout.
Yes.
Wow.
For the beast mode version. So we've got a beast mode version.
So is this Elon talking out of his ass saying beast mode version, and all the engineers are now going to they're scrambling to rewrite the code to say beast mode instead of Plaid? Or does this really make sense? Because Plaid makes sense for a car. The Model S Plaid, the Roadster, those are Plaid, super fast. This is not going to be super fast. It's going to be fast for what it is, 3 seconds on a 7,000 pound truck, but this is a big truck. Well, it's a truck. It's not huge, but it's a truck. It's going to be able to do so much. It's going to tow so much. So this is like a beast. So have they renamed this Beast Mode? And I think that's kind of cool. I don't know what Mr. Beast is going to have to say about this, but I kind of like it. Beast Mode, Cybertruck.
So there's well, I don't want to give it all away right now, but there are 3 demonstrations. One of them people are aware of, which is emptying a Tommy gun into the side of the car, a shotgun, 45 and a 9mm, and no penetrations.
So I heard Tommy gun before. I didn't realize that they shot a shotgun, a 9mm, and a 45 into the door, and it didn't dent it, or it just dented it. And I would love to buy that vehicle. Elon, please, let me buy that Cybertruck. I would love to drive that Cybertruck around instead of just a normal one. It'd be hard to wrap inside those, but either way, That's pretty cool that they shot it with all those.
Wow.
And it comes that way from the factory.
Can I try it with an arrow?
Yeah, it'll be fine.
You think so?
I mean,
I bet I can get in there.
crossbow might.
I have a 90-pound compound bow that shoots 520 grain arrows at.
So Joe Rogan is a big bow and arrow hunter. This is where they get into the weight and the mass of everything. But basically, an arrow is there's a lot of mass behind an arrow because it's long, so it's got a lot of energy poking through there. Joe thinks he can get through it. Elon said, "Do you have one?" And of course, Joe did have one at a studio, and they decided to go into the garage and shoot the truck. Look at Elon just standing there like a boss, you know, smoking a cigar, drinking a drink as Joe gets ready to shoot. My concern in the beginning was actually the ricochet, because I didn't think it was going to go through it at all. And it's pretty impressive. You know, this is a lot of energy going into that door. It's definitely going to stop it, but shaky camera footage. Look at the spark. Look at the spark. Let's go back to that. Hold on. Let's go back to the hit. Where is it at? Let's get the... Oh, man, look at that. Look at the sparks just flying off of that. That is insane. That is such a cool shot. It obviously didn't go through. It's sitting on the ground, but Joe does show the arrow and what it did to it. It dented it pretty good, actually. Almost like a bullet. And pretty impressive. It broke the tip off of the arrow. It's not really focusing that well. But he does show the arrowhead here. Let me see if I can get a shot of it. Focus. It broke the tip off of that, and that's a hardened steel arrow, and it's very, very sharp, razor sharp. So it did quite a bit of damage to the car, but, you know, hey, my car's not bulletproof, but my truck will be. That's a small dent, too, really. That's crazy.
Hey, cutie.
Thank you. Well, now we know.
And of course, Elon's super happy. You know, with the
So we just shot an arrow into it, and it barely scratched it. Barely
scratched it.
Yeah.
It was but a
Probably
big dent.
moving 275 feet a second. That was a 525 grain-ish
So
arrow.
then they talk about the weight of it and how much energy and everything.
Was there ever...
It's best in apocalyptic technology. We have a cool video we'll show at the handover event next month, which is emptying an entire magazine of a Tommy gun, which I think is like on the order of 50 rounds. You're just going full Al Capone, you know, like on the side of the car, shotgun, 9mm, 45.
And you built it like this...
I can't wait for the first idiot YouTuber to do this. I'm not that idiot, but, you know, someone will do it.
Just for fun.
Well, I mean...
Because it's cooler?
I mean...
Because you can?
You know, trucks are supposed to be tough, right?
Yeah.
So, is your
Makes
truck
sense.
bulletproof?
No, mine's definitely not.
Exactly.
And if I shot mine with my bow, it'd go right through it. 100%.
Yeah,
it makes total
So,
sense.
100%.
if you shoot any normal car, unlike in the movies where people hide behind car doors, a car door is basically very thin, mild steel. If you shoot a gun at through like a regular truck, it'll go through both doors. So you can't hide behind a car door like they do in the movies. You know, way back in the day, dating myself, but the A-Team where they would there'd be like bullets flying everywhere and they'd be hiding behind the car door.
Right.
So I think the cops in certain cities will be driving around in Cybertrucks, because I know if I was a cop, I would definitely get one of these things for certain areas of the country. So then they talk about technology, about solar technology, and Elon is explaining him why you can't have solar cars. And then they get into battery technology and is there any new technology? And Elon kind of goes to more of range instead of battery technology. But he explains here really a good example or a good analogy on how the battery fills up. So I've always explained to people that the battery fills up like a glass of water. You're pouring a glass of water. You can start fast in the beginning, but as the glass gets fuller, you have to slow down. I kind of like Elon's analogy of how and why it takes longer to fill up a car battery.
The half an hour. Well, you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's the people will get used to it because it's a little different. like for a gasoline car, you'd want to fill it up. For an electric car, you'd want to actually go very close to zero, and the car can calculate how much range it has with precision. So if you pull up, say, enter a road trip in a Tesla, it'll calculate all of the supercharges along the way, where you should stop, how much you should charge, and just let the computer do its thing, and it'll work well. So you actually want to charge to about 80%, and then run it down all the way to 10%, I'd say, or less.
Do you want to do that on everyday use as well, or just with long trips?
No, just long trips. If you're trying to minimize the amount of time you stop when charging. So let's say you want to stop for 20, 30 minutes, then you really, it's a little counterintuitive because for a gasoline car you would fill it up. For a battery, the charge state tapers off as you get above 80%. You can think of it like
50.
I think the right analogy here is cars in a parking lot. So the lithium ions are trying to find a parking space as they move across, from one side of the battery to the other side, from cathode to anode. I mean, they're sort of just these ions are just bouncing around looking for a parking space. So when the parking lot's empty, they can zip right in there and find a spot. It's easy. As the parking lot gets full, just like trying to find a parking space at a mall, you have to hunt around for a spot. And that's basically what's going on, is the ions are looking for a parking spot. So as the battery gets closer to full, it's harder and harder to find a spot. They have to bounce around more.
So it takes longer
Just like
to get from 80 to 100.
Correct. Getting from 80 to...
I like that. That's a little longer version of the glass of water, but I like that how they're all the electrons have a spot and they need to find that spot. And it takes a while when the battery's full.
100, it takes about as much time as getting from 0 to 80.
Oh.
Just think of...
So Joe has a Tesla. Obviously, he hasn't taken a trip in it and supercharged, but he has a Plaid Model S, and he probably just uses that back and forth from his home to his studio here. But he would know that if he actually took a trip in it.
So you're satisfied with the technologies available right now in terms of like the amount of mileage that you get out of it and things along those lines?
Yeah, range is not an issue. Cost is more of an issue. So.
That makes sense. And I think that's why we're not going to have the 500-mile range Cybertruck right away, because of cost is an issue. Range is not. It is an issue if you're towing something, though. So that's why I kind of would like to have a 500-mile range Cybertruck, because you tow a camper or something like that, you're really only getting 200 to 250 miles of range, which isn't bad, really isn't bad when you consider a Rivian towing something. You're really only going to get 100 miles. Same thing with the F-150 Lightning. So anything above that is better. Closer to 200 miles is better. But, obviously more range is better for that. But day-to-day use, no one needs 500 miles of range, in my opinion. And apparently Elon's too.
Affordable. A long-range car needs to be affordable.
When you fully roll out, how many of those things, how many Cybertrucks can you guys make a month?
We're aiming to make about 200,000 a year at volume production.
He didn't really want to get caught here on a specific number because stock market.
I just can't emphasize enough that manufacturing is much, much harder than the initial design.
And then he just went back to the design, of course, or the manufacturing. Manufacturing, building a huge gigafactory to make these things is bigger. I love watching the TV show How It's Made. Even something like this. Seeing the process to make this, looking at this is like, oh, it's a lollipop. That's easy. But the process on how to make this from start to finish, to packaging, to shipping, to getting it ready to ship and everything is just mind-boggling on everything that goes into this. This is the process, like Elon said, the process is cooler than the idea sometimes.
The Cybertruck was easy to design. I'm not trying to trivialize design. It's just what I'm trying to do is to emphasize the difficulty of manufacturing.
So again, very cool podcast. Go watch the whole thing if you're interested in hearing what he has to say. He talks about SpaceX a lot. He does talk about Twitter or X and a lot of other things that some people might not agree with. But I think we all agree with the Tesla stuff, and that's why I wanted to show you that and watch it together. So leave a comment down below what you thought was the best part of the interview, or if you watched the whole thing, what you hated. I always like listening to when Elon's on different podcasts, and I like Joe Rogan's podcast, so not everyone likes that as well. But I'm hoping I can get to the Cybertruck event. November 30th in Texas is where the event's going to be at. The invites haven't gone out yet. There's going to be delivery events, so it's probably just going to be something small, but I haven't been down to the other events there, so I kind of want to go to this one. I think it'll be fun, see a lot of people, and of course I'll make a video that I'm going down there, and then we can hang out, go to different places down there. Again, thanks for watching. Stay awesome, stay positive, and I'll catch you next one. Maybe I'll catch you at the Cybertruck event. See the Beast Mode Cybertruck event. The Mr. Beast mode? I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing. We'll find out in less than a month. See ya.